Now, the greatest radio shows of all time.
Suspense.
The Shadow Node.
Washington calling David Harding, Counter-Spy.
Classic radio theater.
The Great Gildersleeve.
Fibber McGee and Molly.
Dragnet. Gunsmoke.
The Lone Ranger.
Now, step back into a time machine with your host, Wyatt Cox.
Good evening, friends of the Inner Sanctum.
An episode of the Mutual Radio Network program, Did Justice Triumph, a short-run crime program from 76 years ago, May 28, 1947. This one stars Jackson-Beck. The Killer Ties a Knot. And we thank you for tuning in on this Sunday. This is the 28th day of May, 148th day of the year, 217 days until we get to 2024. The First Continental Congress convened on this date in 1774. President Andrew Jackson signed the Indian Removal Act, which relocates Indians elsewhere. In the 54th Massachusetts Volunteer Infantry, the 1st African American Regiment, left Boston on this date in 1863 to fight for the Union. Now, the Chrysler Building in New York City officially opened on this date in 1930. It was the tallest building in the world at the time. Near Callender, Ohio, on this date in 1934, the Dion quintuplets, born to Olivia and Eliezer Dion, later becoming the first quintuplets to survive infancy. It was a motion picture about the quintuplets that spawned one of my favorite dramatic series on old-time radio, Dr. Christian. Neville Chamberlain became British Prime Minister on this date in 1937. The Palestinian Liberation Organization formed in 1964. In 1987, 19-year-old West German pilot Matthias Rust evaded Soviet Union air defenses and landed a private plane in Red Square in Moscow. He was immediately detained and was not released for over a year until August of 1988. In 1987, a robot probe found the wreckage of the USS Monitor near Cape Hatteras, North Carolina. In Milan, Italy, on this date in 1999, after 22 years of restoration work, Leonardo da Vinci's newly restored masterpiece, The Last Supper, put back on display. 2006, German-born Pope Benedict XVI visited Auschwitz to conclude his pilgrimage to Poland. And in 2016, Barry Bonds hit his 715th home run, surpassing Babe Ruth for second place on the all-time list. Bonds would end up with 762. Among those passing away on this date in history, author, politician, lexicographer Noah Webster, the dictionary guy. Audie Murphy also passing away on this date. Comedian Phil Hartman, actress Martha Scott, the Golden Greek John Tolos, another pro wrestler, actor Gary Coleman, and Maya Angelou. I Know What the Wild Bird Sings. I believe that was the name of it. I remember it. I just don't remember names very well. Let's see. Born on this date in history, athlete Jim Thorpe, author Ian Fleming, all the Bond movies, T-Bone Walker, Papa John Creech, boxing trainer Lou Duba, singer Gary Stewart, Dreamweaver, Wendy O. Williams of the Plasmatics, and a fellow by the name of Jim Harris. You may not know him by name, but if you're a wrestling fan, you've heard of Kamala the Giant. He passed away in 2020. Diabetes cost him both his legs. He passed in 2020 at the age of 70. Okay, people born on this date include singer Gladys Knight, the Midnight Train to Georgia. Also, the former mayor of New York, Rudy Giuliani. Both Gladys and Rudy are 79 today, as is Billy Vera. Billy Vera and the Beaters, at this moment, 79 years old. John Fogerty of Creedence Clearwater Revival still doesn't know who will stop the rain. John Fogerty, 78. The real Patch Adams, 78 today. From the courtship of Eddie's father, Brandon Cruz, 61. And Brandon has quite the I don't want to say idea. He has quite the crusade to give Bill Bixby his due. He says Bill Bixby was a very underrated actor. Brandon Cruz, 61 years old today. Kylie Minogue, who redid Locomotion. Yes, Kylie Minogue's 55 today. Politician Marco Rubio, 52. Pro wrestling announcer, now a back behind the scenes guy with WWE. He had most of his fame with Impact Wrestling. Jeremy Borash, 49. Singer-songwriter, guitarist Kobe Kayat is 38, and the WWE's Seth Rollins is 37. Those just a few of the people who celebrate this 28th day of May as their birthday, and if this happens to be your birthday...
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, happy birthday. Happy birthday to you.
No truth to the rumor that Mrs. Miller had a crush on KXEL's Jeff Steins. Maybe Todd Starnes, but I'm not going to quote. Anyway, we're going back 76 years to May 28th, 1947. Did justice triumph? The killer ties a knot. That's coming up next on this Sunday edition of Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Last Sunday of May, and tomorrow, by the way, is Memorial Day. We will have a podcast special up regarding Memorial Day that'll be going up tomorrow. This is the pre-Memorial Day edition right here on this Sunday on your favorite radio station. Thanks for tuning in to Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox here on your favorite radio station. Now an episode of the short-run mutual program Did Justice Triumph? This episode of the program was originally broadcast 76 years ago today, and that was May 28th, 1947.
Did justice triumph?
In the death file at police headquarters in Atlantic City, there was an identification card which read,
Name, Mrs. Jenny Atkins. Age, 65 years. Cause of death, .25 caliber revolver bullet through heart. Classification, homicide. Investigation, proceeding.
Did justice triumph in this case? You will learn the answer now as you hear another thrilling story from the files of True Justice Stories. These are real stories of the law, pitted against evil and corruption, and presented in all their dramatic intensity so that you may comprehend more fully the vast mechanism of the law. Only actual crimes are reenacted, and they are based on the famous justice stories followed by millions of readers each week in the New York Sunday News and its syndicate. Tonight's case, The Killer Ties a Knot. The victim in tonight's case, Mrs. Jenny Atkins, was an elderly widow with an ample income. More for company than anything else, she rented out the 2 extra rooms in her home in Atlantic City. She is described by her few friends and acquaintances in that city as lonely, shy, and trusting. Perhaps too trusting. Why did Jenny Atkins need justice? We shall see. Our story opens one afternoon about 100 miles away from Atlantic City, behind the grim walls of a Pennsylvania state prison.
Well, Parker, I can see you're anxious to get going.
Yeah, Warden. It's going to be good, breathing free air again.
I understand. Parker, you've been a pretty good prisoner.
Thanks, Warden.
And you've learned a couple of good trades in here.
Sure. I can repair shoes, get by as an automobile mechanic, and sew and knot potato sacks.
And any one of those trades can earn you an honest living anywhere.
Yes, sir.
Oh, by the way, have you got any plans? Know where you're going?
No, just heading out of town, Warden.
Hey.
Then I'm going to see some friends. Write to a pal or two around the country and find out about the job situation.
I see. Well, Parker, I'll shake hands and wish you luck.
Thanks, Warden.
And remember, wherever you go, keep level.
Sure, Warden. I'll play it straight.
Atlantic City. Passengers out at the front end of the coach.
Say, conductor, where's the nearest phone booth?
Yeah, follow your nose, young fella. There's a phone booth right there on the platform.
Thanks.
Hello?
Hello, who's this?
This is Mrs. Atkins.
Oh, is there a guy roaming there named Stu Long?
Why, yes. He's right here. Just a minute.
Okay.
Hello?
Hi, Stu. This is Ray Parker.
Parker, where are you? When'd you get in?
Just a few seconds ago, Stu.
Well, look, you're coming right out, aren't you? There's a room just vacated here. Mrs. Atkins will rent it to you. There'll just be the two of us boarding here.
Listen, Stu, I don't know whether I want to stop off in this burg or not.
Well, what do you mean?
Well, like I told you in my letter, it's gotta be profitable.
Oh, yeah, I got that, Parker. I understand all about it.
You kicked up something interesting?
Sure. I can't discuss it here right now, you understand?
Oh, I get it. Somebody's hanging around.
Yeah, the principal party, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Look, I'll tell you what. I'll meet you in 10 minutes at Street's Bar on the boardwalk.
Okay, 10 minutes. Let's take this booth here, Stu.
Yeah, okay.
Hey, bartender, set us up a couple of rye and water.
2 rye and water coming up.
Say, Parker, you don't look so bad for a year in stir.
Oh? Well, if you don't mind, pal, let's skip that subject.
Oh, sure. But anyway, good to be working with you again.
I hope you didn't drag me here for peanuts.
Would you call $1,000 peanuts?
$1,000, huh?
Yeah.
That ain't bad. Not for a starter, anyhow.
Here's your drinks, boys.
Thanks. We'll sing out when we want another.
Okay.
Well, here's to us, pal.
Right.
Tell me more about that grant.
It'll be a pushover, Parker.
It better be. I tangled with the cops here a few years back. They're smart and tough.
Don't worry. We get this dough nice and easy.
What's the setup?
Well, Mrs. Atkins, the old lady where I'm staying and where you're going to get a room, she keeps a wad of dough in the house.
How do you know?
She told me.
Told you?
Yeah. I guess she trusts me. She keeps it in a safe in her bedroom.
I get it. I'm the guy who opens the safe.
Sure. I figure with your talent along that line, it'll be a cinch.
Yeah. That sounds okay. When do we pull the job?
Thursday night. She always goes to the movies Thursday night, see? So we'll get the dough and beat it to New York, okay?
Yeah, it sounds okay, Stu. It's you, Mrs. Atkins.
Yes, Mr. Parker. I'm going out for the evening, and I just wanted to know if there's anything you need before I go.
No, thanks. Everything's fine.
Do you have enough clean towels?
Sure, plenty.
Well, I hope you like it here, Mr. Parker. The sailor who had this room before you always told me how much he enjoyed the ocean view from this window.
Yeah, it's okay.
Well, if there's nothing I can get you, I'll run on to the movies. Now, goodbye.
So long.
Did she go?
Yeah. Come on, hurry up. Let's get in the bedroom and get to work.
You know, this is almost like finding dough in the street. It's so easy. Here we are. Now, look, the safe's right behind that curtain.
Oh, this is an easy combination.
Hey, how long will it take you?
I'm getting it already. This is an old-timer. So easy, it's a shame. There she is.
And there's the wad.
Not bad at all.
Hey, listen.
Sounds like the old lady's coming back.
Hey, what'll we do? She'll catch us.
You should have figured on that one.
Why, goodness sakes, young men, what are you doing in my bedroom? Why, you opened my safe.
Take it easy, Mrs. Atkins.
Well, it's a good thing I happened to come back for my gloves. You men are thieves. Thieves in my house. I'm going to call the police.
No, you're not, lady.
Oh, yes, I am.
Stand where you are.
Put away that gun. You can't frighten me. You wouldn't shoot me.
Oh, no?
She's dead, Parker.
Sure, she's dead. Oh, we ain't taking a rap for it. Get me that duffel bag that sailor left behind in my room. I'll show you how to get rid of evidence like this.
Now, in this reenactment of an actual crime, the killers work with ghoulish speed. Stuffing the body of the little old lady into the duffel bag, Ray Parker ties and knots the cords. And then they hurry downstairs with their gruesome burden. Setting it just inside the front door, they leave the house, returning 10 minutes later in a rented car. Ray Parker shoulders the duffel bag, leaves the house for the last time, enters the car. Quickly, the two men drive along the shore until they reach the deserted Navy pier. In the darkness, they get out of the car and head out on the pier.
Okay, Stu. This is far enough out.
It isn't very deep under here, Parker. Somebody will spot the bag.
That's what we're hoping for, that they'll find the bag with this Leffler guy's name on it.
Okay, if you say so.
Yeah, take a hold of the end. We'll swing her out.
All right, I'm set.
All that night and part of the next day, the body of Jenny Atkins lies on the ocean floor. It might still be there if it were not for two sailors whose anchor becomes caught in the ropes tied around the duffel bag. Preparing to row out to their training ship, they haul in the anchor and with it, the bag containing the body of the dead woman. Quickly, they inform the police. A battery of experts arrive from headquarters, and the wheels of justice begin to turn.
Oh, Briggs.
Yes, Chief?
I noticed a set of car tracks on the other side of the pier. Get me an impression of those treads.
I'll put a man on it right away.
And Briggs,
Yes?
question those two sailors who pulled in the duffel bag.
Right, sir.
I think they're in the clear, but you better check.
Right, sir.
And report to me at headquarters. I'll be back there later on.
Okay, Chief.
Oh, Sergeant.
Oh, I was just coming over to tell you, Chief. The coroner's finished the preliminary examination of the body.
Oh, good. What'd you find?
Well, she was shot in the chest, probably from fairly close range.
Anything else?
No, Chief. No identification on her. I just told one of the boys to broadcast a general description of her on the radio, approximate age, weight, and so forth, including the black jet necklace she was wearing.
Oh, good. I ought to bring in somebody who can identify her. Now, Sergeant, I hope your rowing arm is in practice.
Yeah, what's up, Chief?
The name on the duffel bag in which her body was found may be a good lead.
Johnny Leffler, wasn't it?
Uh-huh. And that's his training ship anchored right out there. Let's see if we can clean up this case fast. Now, Captain, you say John Leffler got his Navy discharge 2 weeks ago.
That's right.
Where did he go after his discharge? Would you know?
I don't think we have that information. However, I'll find out. And I'll get his home address. Just a second, I'll communicate with personnel.
All right.
Personnel.
This is Captain J. I want the home address of John Leffler immediately. And any forwarding address he may have left.
Aye, aye, sir.
Say, Chief, you're going to ask the captain about the knots and the rope on that duffel bag.
Oh, yes. I've got the rope here in my pocket. Captain, would you say these knots were made by a sailor?
Well, it's hard to tell. They're certainly not regulation. I've never seen any quite like them before.
I see.
Captain J, go ahead.
Sir, John Leffler's address is 2927 Ewing Avenue South, Minneapolis, Minnesota. Left no other forwarding address.
That will be all. Thank you. Well, gentlemen, you heard that address.
Yes, thank you, Captain. That should certainly help us. Well, come on, Sergeant. Back to shore for us landlubbers.
Answer the door, Stu.
Well,
Go on, answer it. It's only the bellhop with the newspapers I called for.
Okay. Here you are, sir. Latest Atlantic City paper.
Yeah, how much?
Well, out-of-town papers is 10 cents in New York, mister.
Okay. Yeah, keep the change.
Yeah, thanks.
Let me see that paper, Stu.
Yeah.
Yeah, here's the story right on the front page. Sensational mystery. Body of unidentified woman found stuffed in duffel bag near Navy Pier.
So they found the bag, huh?
Sure. I've been telling you it'd probably turn up.
Jackson-Beck can sound really evil. From 76 years ago, May 28, 1947, did justice triumph on classic radio theater with Wyatt Cox. The news from 76 years ago today follows these messages from your favorite radio station. Just going to take a minute here to tell you about the big savings going on now, the clearance sale at mypillow.com. And you know, I've talked about how in my office I have a pair of my slippers, and they're really comfortable, and they're on clearance right now. The mypillow.com slippers, $25 a pair, limit 10. And I would buy 3 or 4 more pairs. Unfortunately, they're out of my size. They also have sheets, pillowcases, clothing items, all on special right now. Go to mypillow.com, click on the clearance tab at the top of the page, use my promo code Wyatt, or call 1-800-928-4715. Limited sizes remaining in the MyPillow slippers, limited colors on other items. mypillow.com, clearance tab, promo code Wyatt, 1-800-928-4715. Thanks for tuning in to Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox here on your favorite radio station. We're listening to an episode of the Mutual Radio Network program Did Justice Triumph, as it was originally broadcast at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, Wednesday, May 28, 1947. In the newspapers of that Wednesday 76 years ago, these were some of the headlines. Rich Square, North Carolina Chief of Police Frank Outland said last night 7 men had been arrested on kidnapping charges in connection with the attempted mob action against Godwin Buddy Bush, 24-year-old Negro, at Jackson last Friday morning. The chief said that all 7 men had been released under $2,500 bond. The chief said he was unable to give the names of the 7 men and referred all questions on their identity to Sheriff J.C. Stevenson of Northampton County. The sheriff said he would make the names public today. Under a fine rain, the body of a 72-year-old Cleveland woman lowered into a grave spayed out by her 3 sons in defiance of a strike by American Federation of Labor Union gravediggers. Unhampered by pickets who earlier, the sons said, threatened trouble if you dig that grave, the burial was carried out in good order, and 3 policemen present had little to do but watch. Members of a Senate subcommittee investigating the black market in steel fumed, fretted, and finally investigated something yesterday because the U.S. Marshal assigned to bring in their star witness lost him Monday night in a New York telephone booth. A new alarm was sent out for the elusive witness, Herbert M. Karp, a New York attorney and steel broker named by other witnesses as a big-time operator in black market steel. Committee aides said Karp telephoned the senators from New York Monday to tell them that he had a big deal on in Pittsburgh yesterday, but he would make a real try to be on hand for the subcommittee hearings today. Quoting, he said he couldn't understand why they were having so much trouble locating him. A driver for the Edwards Lake to Sea bus lines yesterday halted his loaded bus at a downtown traffic light, cut off the ignition, and slumped over the wheel, dead. It was several minutes before the 10 passengers bound from Buffalo, New York to Du Bois, Pennsylvania, discovered anything was wrong. In Rome, an officially circulated report that the government had received 3 cablegrams from Italian envoys in Washington bearing on the 14-day cabinet crisis sensation, and it caused a sensation last night in political quarters. It was reported the messages advised the government that the prospects of American aid was dim unless the communists were eliminated from the cabinet. A nationwide 24-hour token strike of French gas and electric workers called off just as it was about to begin after a last-minute government-labor compromise. French Premier Paul Ramadier's government, for its part, lifted an order requisitioning the personnel of the utilities. A lone bandit last night escaped with $1,702 after holding up a cashier in the Everglades Hotel in downtown Miami. Attempts by Kenneth S. Keys, president of the corporation operating the large Bayfront Hotel, and a bellboy to thwart the robbery as he started his getaway were unsuccessful. Dorothy Parker, the novelist and wit, was solemnly serious yesterday as she won a divorce from film writer Alan Campbell on her cross-complaint to his divorce, both charged mental cruelty. Those some of the day's top news stories is reported in the newspapers of Wednesday, May 28, 1947, on your radio Did Justice Triumph. The conclusion next on this Sunday Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox on your favorite radio station. Frank Lovejoy on Monday's Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, an episode of Night Beat from 73 years ago, May 29, 1950. Harlan Matthews, a stamp dealer with memories of a murder he committed long ago, attempts murder, suicide, and more. An alienist and Randy Stone try to help. That's coming up on tomorrow's Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, anytime at classicradio.stream. Now the conclusion of Did Justice Triumph, 76 years ago, May 28, 1947. As Jackson-Beck says,
Now we can relax while the cops pin the rap on somebody else.
Oh, Chief.
Yes, Briggs?
I got the coroner's report for you. He says the old lady's been dead not more than 48 hours.
I see. What about the bullets? Did he find any in her body?
No, sir. But he says from the small size of the wound, the weapon used must have been a .25.
Here, Chief, you want me to check with the ship? See if anybody aboard knows whether John Leffler carried a weapon of that caliber?
Not yet, Sergeant. Oh, Briggs.
Yes?
Has there been any response to that general radio broadcast of the victim's description?
No, Chief. I guess the old lady just didn't have any friends here. Maybe she was just vacationing in town. Maybe she didn't know nobody.
That's possible. Well, let me know the minute something comes in.
Sure, Chief.
And Briggs, you better... Just a minute. Homicide, Chief Franklin speaking.
Hello, Chief. This is Lieutenant Forbes, Minneapolis Police.
Oh, hello, Lieutenant. I've been waiting for you to call me back.
You were asking for information on the whereabouts of an ex-sailor, John Leffler.
That's right. Can you tell me anything about him?
Why, yes. He's been right here in Minneapolis for the last 10 days. He's staying with his folks here.
That's so? You're sure about that, Lieutenant?
There's no question about it, Chief. We've checked thoroughly.
Well, guess that lets him out. This woman who was murdered not more than 48 hours ago.
Is there anything else we can do for you, Chief?
No, I guess that's all for now. But thanks for your cooperation. Bye. Well, Sergeant, that seems to be that.
Yeah, I kind of gathered our number one suspect is out of the picture.
Apparently. He's been home with his family for the last 10 days. He couldn't have done it.
Well, Chief, what do we do now?
We start all over again, Sergeant. And this time we've got to get on the right track.
Now, in the pursuit of justice for the unidentified woman lying in the police morgue, the law can only work with the clues available at the moment. Chief Franklin scrutinizes the duffel bag once more and puts in another call to police headquarters in Minneapolis.
Lieutenant, I should have told you this before, but we were so sure that Leffler was the man we wanted that, well, I didn't think it necessary to go into all of the details.
Go ahead, Franklin.
Well, this woman's body was found in a duffel bag with Leffler's name on it.
I can't help that. As I said, he hasn't been in your part of the country for 10 days.
I know that. But will you find out from him where he left the duffel bag? Now, if we knew that, it might help us identify the woman faster.
We'll contact Leffler for you right away and let you know.
Good, I'll be waiting.
Chief Franklin orders photographs of the impressions of the tire treads that were found near the Navy Pier, and copies are distributed to the entire police force so they may be on the alert for treads to match the photographs. Then Franklin settles down to wait for the return call from Minneapolis. Waits until...
Hey, Chief, there's a woman out here says she heard one of our broadcasts. Says she thinks she knows the dead woman.
Good. Bring her in, Briggs.
Yes, sir.
Come in, please.
Oh, thank you.
Chief, this is Mrs. Trask.
Oh, how do you do?
This is Chief Franklin.
Oh, I'm so glad to meet you, Chief. I've heard so much about you and the wonderful work your policemen do.
Yes, thank you, Mrs. Trask. Suppose you and I go down to the morgue.
The morgue?
Yes, that's where the body is. The body of the woman you want to identify.
Morgue? Oh, dear, I've never been in a place like that in my whole life.
Well, I don't think you'll find it too bad. Come this way, please.
Oh, well, I don't know if I'm going to like this.
Mrs. Trask, you say you think the description you heard on the radio might fit one of your friends.
I think so, Chief. In fact, I'm sure of it. You see, Mrs. Atkins, that's her name. Mrs. Atkins always wore a jet necklace, just like the radio said, and she was about 65 years old, and just like the broadcast said.
Yes, Mrs. Trask. Does your friend live here in Atlantic City?
Oh, yes, Chief. She has a house right near the boardwalk. It's only a few doors away from mine. Why, every morning
I see. Do you know this Mrs. Atkins very well?
Very well. I hardly know her at all. She didn't make friends with anyone. She always seemed kind of lonely to me. Several times I tried to talk
Yes,
to her.
I see. Well, here we are, Mrs. Trask. The morgue's right through this door.
This isn't a very cheerful place, is it?
Now, don't be nervous, Mrs. Trask. I'll try to make this as easy for you as possible. Now, here's the body.
Oh.
If you'll take a look, please.
Oh,
Is that your friend?
yes. Yes, that's Mrs. Atkins.
You're absolutely sure?
Oh, yes, there's no question about it.
Thank you, Mrs. Trask.
Oh, the poor woman. To think that somebody would do a thing like this to her. And
Thank
she
you,
was
Mrs.
such a-
Trask. Now, if you'll just step back to my office for a few minutes, I think you may be able to give us some other valuable information.
Have another drink, Stu.
No, thanks.
Hey, what's the matter with you?
Nothing at all.
You've been acting like a dead fish the last couple of days. Scared to go anywhere, do anything?
Sure, I don't like what we've been reading in the papers.
What do you mean, we're in the clear?
Yeah, but the cops know the sailor didn't do it.
So what? We're still in the clear.
Maybe you're right. I guess they haven't got nothing on us. But look, what's our next move?
Relax, Stu. I told you before, we don't make any move until I hear from that guy in Boston. I wrote to him the first night I got in Atlantic City.
Well, he's kind of slow on the uptake, ain't he? We've been to the post office twice looking for a letter from him.
Don't worry, he'll write.
Maybe you should have given him the address of the hotel where we're staying, huh?
How could I? We were still in Atlantic City. We didn't know where we were going to be staying here in New York.
I don't like the idea of hopping over to the general delivery window at the post office every couple of hours.
Neither do I. But we'll hear from the guy in a day or two, and he's in the big time. He'll fix it for us in Boston, so that burg will be our oyster.
This looks like her bedroom, Chief.
Yeah. Oh, Briggs.
Yes, sir?
Examine the other rooms up here. Dust around for prints. We'll be in Mrs. Atkins' bedroom.
I'll get right at it, Chief.
Yeah.
Hey, Chief, she has a safe in here. It's open.
Yeah, so I see. Any money in it?
No, not a dime.
That friend of Mrs. Atkins said the old lady was in the habit of keeping large sums of money in that safe. That's our motive, then.
Yeah, but, Chief, it looks like Mrs. Atkins took out the money herself.
Huh? What makes you think that, Sergeant?
Well, there's not a scratch on the safe. Whoever opened it must have known the combination.
Not necessarily. A professional could have opened that safe without any trouble at all. It's old style. Just the simple tumbler action.
Yeah, I guess you're right. You see something on the floor?
Just thought maybe she might have been shot in here. And maybe she surprised the thief while he was cleaning out the safe. I don't see any blood on the carpet. Here.
Oh, did you find something?
Yeah. Spent bullet.
Oh, that looks like it came from a 25.
Yeah. I guess the coroner was right in his supposition.
Chief, I picked up a bunch of prints from the other room, and, here, this writing pad. There's nothing written on it, but...
I'll take it anyway, Briggs.
Okay, sir.
Now, Briggs, you better dust this room for prints, too.
Yes, sir.
Now, if you'll just give me the prints you've already taken, I'll take them back to headquarters and put the boys to work on them. Homicide, Chief Franklin speaking.
Chief, this is Briggs.
Yeah?
I'm in a rent-a-car garage a couple of blocks from Mrs. Atkins' place.
Yeah?
I just stopped in here on a hunch on my way back to headquarters, and I think we've hit something.
All right, Briggs, what is it?
Those tire prints we picked up near the pier belong to a car rented from this place the night Mrs. Atkins was murdered.
Huh?
The car was rented by a guy who signed his name as Parker. Ray Parker.
Ray Parker, huh?
That's
Good
right.
work, Briggs. Sergeant,
Yeah, Chief.
got a job for you.
Yeah, what's up, Chief?
I want you to look through the files here. See if a man named Ray Parker ever appeared on our blotter.
Ray Parker, okay.
Meantime, I'll check the fingerprint, boys.
Fingerprint Bureau, Pete speaking.
Pete, how about those prints? What's come up?
Not much, Chief. They're pretty smudged.
See. Well, Briggs is bringing some more in. Got to work on them as soon as you can.
Yes, sir.
Hey, here you are, Chief. Card on Ray Parker with his fingerprints.
Hey, now we're getting somewhere. That's it. Ray Parker, 27. Booked in 1942 as robbery suspect. Insufficient evidence. Released.
You think he's in on this, Chief?
Beginning to look that way.
Shall I alert our squad cars?
Yeah, give him this description. But also send out a general teletype alarm.
Okay.
Give the description, age, name, fingerprint series, and so on. Send the information to all police headquarters in this part of the country. We've got to turn up Ray Parker.
Now, in this reenactment of a real crime, the law moves a step forward only to reach another dead end. In response to the general teletype alarm, the police in Atlantic City learn that Parker has recently been released from the Pennsylvania State Prison. But there his trail ends. Now the law can only watch and wait. 2 days later, in Chief Franklin's office at headquarters.
Hey, Chief, I've got that stuff you wanted.
All right, Sergeant. Just put it on the desk.
Yeah, there it is. Writing pad we picked up at Mrs. Atkins, and the rope from the duffel bag.
Thanks.
What do you want them for, Chief?
Just want to look them over. Make sure we haven't missed anything that might give us a clue to Ray Parker's whereabouts.
Yeah, sure, I understand, but even if we do lay our hands on Parker, do you think we've got enough evidence to book him?
No, I don't. All we have is the fact that he rented a car and he drove it out to the pier that night that Mrs. Atkins' body was tossed into the water.
Yeah. That don't exactly place him at the scene of the crime.
Oh. Hey, what's this?
Yeah, what, Chief?
Look on this writing pad.
I don't see anything on it.
Hold it up to the light. See those indentations? Whoever wrote on that pad must have pressed down hard with the pencil.
Hey, Chief, rub it easy with a soft pencil. Maybe you can read what it says.
Yeah. Try it here. Now, look here, Sergeant. Write me in care of General Delivery, New York City. And it's signed Ray Parker.
Well, come on, Chief. What are we waiting for?
Just a minute, Sergeant.
Yeah?
Remember a minute ago you said we didn't have much evidence against Parker?
Yeah, but what?
I've got an idea. The knots in that rope have been puzzling me for a long time. Now I think I understand.
What do you mean?
I'll explain later. Just get me the warden of the Pennsylvania State Prison on the wire. After I talk to him, I think we'll have all the evidence we need.
You know, Parker, we're gonna wear a hole in this post office floor if you don't get that letter pretty soon.
Yeah. Well, anyway, we don't have to stand in line this afternoon. There's nobody else at the general delivery window.
That's a break for a change.
Yeah, and the window's shut.
Oh, that's our luck.
Hey, back there, you got customers. Come on, open up.
We might as well go.
Oh, wait a minute. Hey, listen. You got anything there for Ray Parker? Please, it's important. Ray Parker.
He ain't gonna open for nobody.
All right, Ray Parker, reach for the ceiling. You two, fella.
Huh? Who are you?
Chief of Homicide, Atlantic City. These men with me are from New York Police Headquarters.
I haven't done anything.
We're taking you back to Atlantic City to answer a charge of murder, Parker.
I've never even been to Atlantic City.
No use, Parker. We know you killed Mrs. Jenny Atkins. We know how you did it, how you got rid of the body. You rented a car and took her body to Navy Pier and you dumped it over.
I told you, Parker.
Shut up. These dopes don't have anything on me. Well, maybe I did rent a car in Atlantic City. So what?
You can't alibi yourself out of this one, Parker. The knots in the duffel bag rope place you at the scene of the crime. You made those knots the way you learned to knot potato sacks at Pennsylvania State Prison.
So what? That's not proof.
Put the cuffs on him, Sergeant. This other fellow here, too. He'll be answering a few questions while we're booking his friend Parker for the murder of Jenny Atkins.
Justice moves surely and swiftly now in this case. Stu Long confesses his part in the crime and is brought to trial as an accessory. Ray Parker is charged with murder in the first degree. It took the jury but 20 minutes to reach a verdict. Both men were found guilty. For Stu Long, the sentence was the rest of his life behind bars. For Ray Parker, the maximum penalty, death in the electric chair. And so it is now that at police headquarters in Atlantic City, the death card on Mrs. Johnny Atkins was been removed from the active file and marked Case Closed.
Justice has triumphed.
This has been a reenactment of an actual murder case, though the names of all persons, characters, and places are entirely fictitious, and any similarity to persons living or dead is entirely coincidental. Next week, at a new time, the Mutual Broadcasting System will present another dramatization of the Did Justice Triumph series, appearing each week in the New York Sunday News and its syndicate. These programs are produced and directed by Jock McGregor. The stories are dramatized by Barth Conrad. The narrator was Phil Tonkin. Jenny Atkins was played by Charmaine Allen. Ray Parker was Jackson-Beck, and Chief Franklin was Ralph Camargo. Others in the cast were Humphrey Davis as Stu Long, Ian McAllister as the sergeant, Earl George as Briggs, Cameron Prudhomme as the warden, and Murray Forbes as the lieutenant. The orchestra, conducted by Emerson Buckley, played music written especially for this broadcast by Richard DuPage.
From 76 years ago, May 28, 1947, Did Justice Triumph here on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Thanks to our friends who join us every Sunday here on your favorite radio station, and hope you'll thank the station, support their advertisers, their kindness and courtesy allow us to be with you each and every time we roll around here on your favorite station. Miss a day, you don't have to miss a single show. All of our shows are available for on-demand streaming at classicradio.stream. That is classicradio.stream. Stream the shows. Learn about building a classic radio collection of your own. You can find lists of places where our shows are available via podcast. You can also find our social media links. You can buy me a copy, as so many nice people have, like Richard and Karen, who bought us copies here very recently. You can do all that at classicradio.stream. classicradio.stream. Thank you for tuning in. Tell all your friends the greatest radio shows of all time are right here at this spot on the dial. Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox on your favorite radio station.